Hello, everyone. Welcome back to SmartSpeak Podcast, where real conversations help you speak real English.
I'm Liam.
And I'm Emma.
So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's learn English together.
Let's get started.
Emma, have you ever noticed how some people seem to pick up new skills almost instantly? Like, they start learning a guitar, and 3 weeks later, they play beautifully.
Oh, absolutely. It can be quite frustrating to watch. I remember a friend in college who could learn a new programming language over the weekend, while it took me months.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if they just have a magical brain or if they know a secret that the rest of us don't.
Well, scientists have actually been studying this for decades. It turns out it's not about magic at all. It's about how they approach the entire process of learning.
But here's the surprising part. Most people think fast learners are just born with a higher IQ. Research shows that traditional intelligence is only a tiny piece of the puzzle.
Really? That is incredibly comforting to hear. So if it isn't just raw intelligence, what is the main driver behind this super fast learning?
It often comes down to specific strategies and a particular mindset. Fast learners don't necessarily work harder, but they definitely work differently.
I love that idea. Today, we are going to unpack exactly what these people do differently so our listeners can apply these secrets to their own English learning journey.
Sounds like a plan. Let's dive into the first big secret.
All right, Liam. So what is the very first thing fast learners do when they want to master something new?
They use a technique called deconstruction. Instead of looking at a massive subject and feeling overwhelmed, they break it down into tiny, manageable pieces.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like eating a giant cake. You can't swallow it whole. You have to take one bite at a time.
Exactly. For example, if you want to learn to play tennis, you don't just go out and try to play a full match immediately. You practice the serve first, then the forehand, then the backhand.
So if someone is trying to improve their English, instead of saying, I need to learn English, they should focus on a specific piece, like mastering how to order food or how to make small talk at work.
Spot on, Emma. When you focus on a small, specific target, your brain can process the information much more efficiently. It gives you a quick win, which builds your confidence.
I read a study about this. Fast learners actually find the most critical 20% of the skill that gives them 80% of the results. It's called the Pareto principle.
Yes, the 80-20 rule. It applies to almost everything, including languages. Did you know that knowing just 1,000 common English words allows you to understand about 80% of daily conversations?
Wow, that is an amazing fact. Most people don't realize this and waste months trying to memorize thousands of rare vocabulary words that they will never use.
Exactly. Fast learners identify those core words or phrases and master them completely before moving on to anything else.
That 80-20 rule is a total game changer. But knowing what to study is only the first step. How do fast learners actually memorize and retain all that information so quickly?
Well, they avoid passive learning. Passive learning is when you just read a book, listen to a podcast, or watch a video without doing anything else. It feels like you are learning, but your brain is actually asleep.
Oh, I am definitely guilty of that. Sometimes I watch a documentary and an hour later I can barely remember the main points.
We all do it. Fast learners use active recall instead. They test themselves constantly. After reading a page, they close the book and try to explain what they just read out loud.
Ah, so they force their brain to work hard to retrieve the information. It's like a workout for your memory muscles.
Exactly. And what happened next was unexpected in a famous memory study. Scientists found that students who read a text once and tested themselves on it remembered much more than students who read the text 4 times.
No way! Reading it just once, but testing yourself is more powerful than reading it 4 times? That sounds almost too easy.
It is true, because testing creates stronger neural connections. When your brain has to struggle a little bit to remember something, it signals that the information is important.
This is incredibly useful for our listeners. Instead of just listening to us speak, they should pause the podcast and try to summarize what we said in their own words.
Yes! That simple habit alone can double your learning speed overnight.
So we have deconstruction and active recall. What is the next piece of the puzzle, Liam?
It's how they handle mistakes. Most people hate making mistakes. It makes them feel embarrassed or silly, so they avoid trying things they aren't good at.
I completely agree. Fear of making mistakes is the #1 reason people get stuck when learning a new language. They are so afraid of saying something wrong that they choose to stay silent.
But fast learners look at mistakes in a completely different way. To them, a mistake is not a failure. It is just a valuable data point. It tells them exactly what they need to fix next.
That reminds me of a little story about Thomas Edison. When he was trying to invent the light bulb, he failed thousands of times. Someone asked him how it felt to fail so much.
Oh, I love his response. What did he say again?
He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
That is the perfect mindset. Fast learners actively look for feedback. They want people to correct them because they know it accelerates their progress.
And this changes everything, because if you welcome mistakes, you stop hiding. You start speaking more, writing more, and practicing more.
Exactly. The faster you make mistakes, the faster you can correct them, and the faster you learn. It is a virtuous cycle.
This brings us to another fascinating concept. Have you ever heard of the term deliberate practice?
Yes! It was popularized by a psychologist named Anders Ericsson. It basically means practicing with intense focus and a very specific goal, rather than just repeating things mindlessly.
Right. There is a huge difference between driving a car for 10 years and being a professional race car driver. Regular driving is just repetition, but race car drivers practice specific turns and speeds deliberately.
That is a great analogy. Many language learners think that just living in an English-speaking country will automatically make them fluent. They think exposure is enough.
But most people don't realize this. Exposure without deliberate practice often leads to a plateau. You learn enough to survive, and then you stop improving.
Exactly. Fast learners don't just practice what they are already good at. They design their practice to target their specific weaknesses. If their pronunciation of the TH sound is weak, they spend 20 minutes focusing purely on that sound.
It sounds like it requires a lot of mental energy. It's not always comfortable, is it?
No, it's actually quite tiring. True, deliberate practice shouldn't feel easy. If it feels easy and comfortable, you're probably not pushing your boundaries.
So true learning happens right outside our comfort zone. That's a great lesson for all of us. Liam, let's talk about time management. Do fast learners spend 8 hours a day studying, or do they have a different approach?
They actually use a technique called spaced repetition. Instead of cramming for 5 hours straight before an exam, they study for 20 minutes every single day, spreading it out over time.
Ah, I see. So consistency beats intensity every time. Why does the brain prefer that?
It has to do with how our brains build long-term memories. Imagine you are walking through a thick jungle. If you walk down a path once, the grass grows back quickly and the path disappears.
But if you walk down that same path every day, the grass never grows back, and you create a permanent trail.
Exactly, Emma. That is how your brain works. If you study a list of words today, your brain will start to forget them tomorrow. But if you review them right when you are about to forget them, the memory becomes much stronger.
There are actually fantastic apps nowadays that use algorithms to show you words exactly at the moment you are about to forget them. It saves so much time.
Yes, Technology has made spaced repetition incredibly easy to implement. Fast learners take full advantage of these tools to optimize their study schedules.
So the takeaway here is to stop pulling all-nighters. 15 minutes a day is much better than 3 hours once a week.
We've covered a lot of practical strategies, Liam. But what about psychology? Is there a emotional or psychological trait that fast learners share?
Absolutely. It's something called a growth mindset, a concept discovered by Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck.
Oh, I've read about that. A growth mindset is the belief that your basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, right?
Exactly. The opposite is a fixed mindset, where you believe you were born with a certain amount of talent and you can't change it. People with a fixed mindset say things like, "I'm just not good at languages."
That is a very dangerous phrase. It stops you before you even begin.
But here's the surprising part. Scientists have discovered neuroplasticity, which means the adult brain can physically change, grow, and adapt throughout your entire life. Your brain can literally rewire itself to learn a new language, no matter how old you are.
That is incredibly inspiring. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. Fast learners know this intuitively. They don't see difficulty as a sign that they are stupid. They see it as a sign that their brain is growing.
So next time you find an English grammar rule confusing, don't say, "I'm not smart enough." Say, "My brain is building new connections right now."
I love that shift in perspective. It changes your whole energy.
Speaking of perspective, I want to share a little story about a polyglot I met last year. He speaks 7 languages fluently, and he learned the last one in just 6 months.
7 languages? That's incredible. What was his secret?
I asked him that exact question. I expected him to tell me about a special textbook or a secret software. But what happened next was unexpected. He told me that his secret weapon was emotional connection.
Emotional connection? How does that work with learning?
Well, he said most people try to learn from boring textbooks about topics they don't care about. He only learns through topics he loves. For his last language, he wanted to learn cooking, so he only watched cooking shows and read recipes in that language.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. If you're genuinely interested in the content, your brain releases dopamine, which is a chemical that enhances memory and attention.
Exactly. If you love football, read football news in English. If you love fashion, watch fashion vloggers. Don't force yourself to read boring financial articles just because you think you should.
This is a mistake so many students make. They separate learning from enjoyment. Fast learners merge them together.
And this changes everything because learning stops being a chore. It becomes a hobby that you look forward to every day. So, Liam, if we want to synthesize everything we discussed today into actionable steps for our listeners, where should they start?
Step 1 is to narrow your focus. Pick one specific area of English you want to improve this week. Don't try to learn everything at once. Deconstruct it.
Step 2 is to test yourself actively. Don't just listen to this podcast or read an article passively. Try to explain the concepts to yourself or write a short summary in English.
Step 3 is to embrace consistency. Set aside just 15 or 20 minutes every day for spaced repetition. Make it a daily ritual, like brushing your teeth.
Step 4 is to change your vocabulary around mistakes. Welcome them as progress trackers and adopt a growth mindset. Remind yourself that your brain is capable of changing.
And finally, step 5 is to connect your English practice to your passions. Fill your environment with English content that you genuinely love.
Those are incredibly practical steps. Anyone listening can start implementing them today without spending a single dollar.
Absolutely. It doesn't take wealth or a high IQ to become a fast learner. It just takes the right strategy and the discipline to apply it.
I completely agree, Liam. It has been such an enlightening conversation today. Learning how the human brain works gives us all a clear roadmap to improve our own lives while we improve our language skills.
It really does, Emma. I always love discussing these topics because they remind us that we have a lot more control over our future than we think. Our daily habits truly shape our destiny. I hope our listeners found this episode both helpful for their life journey and their English listening practice.
I am sure they did. It is all about taking these ideas and applying them step by step. Thank you for joining us today on SmartSpeak Podcast.
If you enjoyed this conversation and learned something new, don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with a friend.
Keep practicing, keep improving, and keep speaking English.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.